Mhm.
What's up, everybody?
Hey there.
Welcome back to another live workshop. We are coming at you, Brett and Laura, talking about how to convert a single family house into an assisted living and make $500,000+ a year.
It's not theory. This is not something we're just talking about. We haven't experienced it. It's something that we actually have done ourselves and want to share with you not how easy it is. It's not easy, but share with you that it is possible. And so we're going to break a lot of things down for you today and hope you can, again, grab some golden nuggets for yourself and, do this within your own city and state yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So you hear me talk a lot about new construction. I love new construction. We've built several new constructions ourselves and build them around the country. But where we got started was a home conversion, right? We can tell you firsthand, it was 2019 that we did it, right? We still own the property. We still have been running that assisted living. We make amazing money there, super consistent. We have been very hands-off in this business for 4+ years. Making amazing money. And so you can start there, right? I love new construction. It is fantastic, but a lot of people are just comfortable with a home conversion. You understand what that looks like. And there are really horrible ways to do it, and there are awesome ways that make a lot of money. So let's talk about the awesome ways that make a lot of money, right?
Well, before we get started, if you have any questions whatsoever, we will be answering all questions at the end of the call. So if you have any specific questions, maybe not really related to this, you can ask that, or related to the topic at hand, please make sure that you add those in the chat. You must be a subscriber. That is not our rules. That is a YouTube rule. Okay, so we're not trying to get crazy on that, but you need to be a subscriber before you ask a question. So do that. Let us know where you're calling in from, and I will be sure to answer your questions at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about this, right? Like, how do you take a house and make an assisted living? There's so many different things and different layers there. And I would start by saying this: you are not going to find a house that you can just like put a bow on it and say, all right, let's have inspection, let's make an assisted living, right? Like it does not go that way. There are so many different layers when you go into this, from the city permits, the fire marshal. Do you need to have fire sprinklers? What does it look like meeting your local code, your state code for licensure? Because again, we're talking about not someone flying by night under the radar doing a secret little 3-bed, right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who's gone through the hoops, who's going and getting the license with the state, doing all the right things. And really, we'll show you today what it looks like, especially the math. The math on this is very deal structure based, right? You're having the right size deal. So that'll go back to what are we going to do with this house here? How do we get the right size house? How do we get an upscale luxury product and luxury service that can charge good amount of money? And we'll talk about what that actually looks like so that you can make 500+ grand a year. Because so many people are like, oh, let me dabble in this. Let me get my feet wet. Let me do, a home in a neighborhood. Hopefully it doesn't have an HOA, and I'll have 4 bedrooms, and I'll convert the garage, and we'll have this, and I'll do shared rooms, and man, it'll be awesome. It's not gonna be awesome. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be horrible for you, honestly. Like, you're gonna give the next 2 to 3 years of your life being a slave to your business, making barely any money, enough to kind of squeeze by. And then either you scale that model and you try and buy a bunch more and you get 6 or 7 so you have a decent salary, but you're still pulling your hair out. Or you say, this is stupid and I quit and I'm selling this thing, and hopefully the real estate value went up in the last couple of years. Not a good way to go, right? Obviously, no one wants that. So I love this idea that you can do a one and done deal. You can do it with a house. You can buy something like that. And that's what we did, right? We'll show you what that looks like. And so as you're coming and you're looking at this, it's not going to be, let's find this perfect piece of property, this perfect house, and let's do it. It's how do we find something that works, that checks the boxes, and then how do we finagle it, right? Because there's going to be some finagling here to be able to do that. And whether that finagling is doing a renovation, meaning a big home conversion and remodeling a place, or doing an addition, adding actual square footage onto the building, or both. You are probably not going to find an 8,500 square foot home that is ADA compliant with 16 private rooms and 16 private baths and all the beautiful things that you want and need, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. So what are you going to do on these things? And so I really think you can find a big house. That is totally fine. That's what we did. Let me actually show you a couple photos as I'm talking through this here. We found a 3,500 square foot ranch style house, and it was, let's see, here's the photos of it here. This is one of our first projects that we did in Georgetown, Texas. You can see the exterior of this thing. 3,500 square feet. It was built in like the early 70s, all single level, and just so outdated and nasty and gross. And you can see here, there's the dining room. Here's the kind of the living room. And we took this thing and we gutted it down to the studs. And not only did we that, because it was like 6 bedrooms, 3,500 square feet, but more than that, we took that building and we gutted it and then we did a big addition. And so we added about 3,000 square feet to this building, and it now sits at about 6,300 square feet. It's 15 private rooms. We have 12, I think, bathrooms in that building, and it's gorgeous. And actually, if you want to take a look at it, you can go on our website, platinumresortassistedliving.com. Here's our virtual tour on this guy right here. Let's click there, and then you can see this is our building here, right? And this side over here on the right, this was the original house. There was nothing here, and then there was a detached garage. And so we connected this together, gutted everything, and made one seamlessly beautiful house. So we can actually step in here into the building, and you can see what this looks like here. So this is now our assisted living, 6,300 square feet. And you can see some of the things that show it's a house conversion, right? It still has, 8-foot ceilings here, but it's beautiful. And there was these different areas that were kind of sunken in that we raised up. And this has been a gorgeous product for us. We charge about $8,000 a month for this building. Again, private rooms, it has a chef, it has a salon, it has, most of these have half baths, right? On our new construction, we did all full roll-in ADA bathrooms, but you can see, again, really nice size rooms. Here's what you can do. And this is a home conversion, right? You can go and you can do something like this. Think outside the box and build something beautiful that you can be proud of. And what I love, if we go back outside, this is still tucked into a neighborhood. There are next door neighbors. This is on 1 acre, and this happens to be in a non-zoned area. So you can do awesome things with a house and start doing this, right? This makes us amazing money, and it's really been a life-changing thing for us. It's like set our foundation. It got us out of the house flipping game and the rental kind of game, and just gave us very, very safe, consistent income every single month. And that's been epic for us. It allowed us to stabilize that and then go and expand and build and do other things and have other goals. So I would say this, that you can either find a big piece of property and convert it, or what we've done a couple times with some of our partners is they'll find a kind of smaller or normal size house. It might be just like 1,500 square feet, 2,000 square feet. And if you consider like that house there, just gut the thing, right? Take down all the interior walls and then make that like your kind of center of your house. That's your living room, that's your salon, that's your kitchen, that's your manager's office. Boom, right? And you have that like that box right there in the middle. And then go on the left side and the right side and put 2 wings on that thing, right? And have like 8 bedrooms, the hallway, 8 private rooms, 8 private baths. And maybe you take it from 2,000 square feet up to 8 or 9 or even 10,000 square feet. We have teams that we team up with that have done this exact thing. They found the piece of land that they loved. It happened to have a house on it. And it's like, well, do we scrape this house? We can, right? But you know what? Maybe we want to keep this. And so we have a team that just opened this week, right? Brought in their grandmas. They bought 10 acres with the house on it, did what I just talked about here. They did an addition on it. And then there's still another 8 acres to go through and build 3 more mansions that are new construction and build out a neighborhood. But they were just very comfortable with the remodel, with the home conversion. They wanted to stay in that lane.
So I wanted to add that what we hear a lot is individuals who want to do this home conversion. And of course, we started there, so we have experience with that. It worked really well for us. But I think the reason why it worked really well for us is because we didn't think small. we did, 15 bedrooms. And I think a lot of times people, when they want to just kind of, I don't want to say dabble, but kind of get their feet wet, they just want to stick their toe in the water. And they say, okay, well, I'll buy the 1,500 square foot home that Brett was just talking about, but I'm just going to convert it to like a 4 to maybe 7 bed or something, just something smaller where I can, kind of maintain it. And then I'll get the experience, and then I'll have another one that maybe has, the 16 bed. And that is something that I would really stray away from. I feel like when we do the math on these things, when you're based on staffing, right? So if you have, say, a 10 bed, you will probably need 2 caregivers for those 10 grandparents. But you also need 2 caregivers when you have 16 grandparents. But you have 6 more beds of income that you're getting. And at that point, you have more income to then pay for 2 managers so that you're not the backup manager. You can then pay for, more luxurious things because you have a bigger income. Whereas if you have smaller, the 6 to 10 bed range, you don't have that luxury. And when you have an empty room, that costs you everything. That's all of your profit. And so we really encourage and we really implore people to go with the 16 bed. You'll be able to afford so many more things that will help you expand quicker later on down the road. So don't think small. If you do happen to get, land that has a smaller home on it, think bigger. Think 16 bed. Don't think, oh, I need to just get the experience first before I jump in. You'll probably overworked and you will be burnt out, and you won't want to do this industry anymore. So start off strong, do something bigger, 16 bed. Your income will be there, and it will set you up for success for the future.
It's a great point. I think 16 is the magic number, and then I want to scale from there, right? Instead of doing 64, right, we're building 4 16s, right? So you can do it in that way. The math works out the best. It gives you the best net profit, and it gives you the best care ratios, and you can take care of the grandmas the best. But some people say like, oh, I can't do 16 in my state. I'm in Arizona, and it limits me to 10. No, bro, it doesn't. That's residential. What does commercial zoning look like, right? Can you find a house that was commercial? This house is, right? There are plenty of pieces of land that we look at where there's a neighborhood, and then there's like that strip of land right on the thoroughfare there that is zoned commercial. You can do those kind of things. You could look into areas that are non-zoned. You could look into areas that are maybe mixed use or multifamily or something like that. So zoning is a whole different thing. We're not going to talk about it today, but if you do want to learn more about the zoning on this, I would push you to our website, assistedlivingmansion.com. Hit the additional resources. There is a training on it. It is free. Go down there. There's 3 courses. Hit the location selection course. It'll talk through all this zoning stuff. So having the right number is magical. When you have the right number, it will ultimately get you to the net result that you want of financial freedom. Right? It can get you to a place where you can make 40, 50. I've seen teams make net profit of $60,000 a month. I am not talking about income of $60,000. I'm talking about net profit, take home every single month of $60K. And it depends on what your deals look like. So I want to show you what this looks like here. Let's just take a look at the math. I've seen a lot of crappy deals that are 6, 8 bed, and it's like, bro, don't even waste your time. Let me show you something that you should be looking at. There's 3 different examples here, right? And again, most important are these bed rates here. So we have 16 residents, and then you can see it times 8,000 a month, times 9,000 a month, times 10,000 a month. So you're at 128,000 a month of income, and then you see the little like arrow. If you took away a vacancy factor and you said, hey, I only had 15 out of those 16, then you have an income coming in of $120,000 a month, $135,000 a month, $150,000 a month. And you might say, bro, that is crazy. No one is going to pay that. Yes, that's actually what they pay. That is literally what it costs. We look at land in 20 plus states, and the cheapest for luxury memory care with a private room is $7,500. Granted, you probably stay away from podunk little towns, but $7,500 is the lowest. Common, a lot what we're seeing now is in the 8s and 9s or 10. Then that's kind of one area of the country. Then you have the Northeast, which is like Washington, Oregon, California, or you go to that was the Northwest, the Northeast, or New York, Connecticut, all of those kind of areas. Those are 11 on the low side up to $13,000, $14,000. There's areas of Dallas that we've seen and Houston that we've seen $12,000+. This is literally market rent. This is what it costs. So when we start looking at these numbers here and we're showing, look at the bottom one here, 16 grandmas times $10,000 a month, 160,000 of income if you were at capacity, 150,000 if you had a little bit of a vacancy in there. That is massive, massive numbers. Then here's what the expenses look like. And this is, again, this is real life. And this is proportionate to if you were at the $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 more. You would pay more for staffing and other things if you were at the $12,000, $13,000. But for 2 caregivers, 24/7, 365, plus a chef full-time, plus a great pay for a manager, it's about $40,000, including a little bit of overtime and stuff, about 40 grand a month. Your operations company, right? All the little loose ends, a lot of it is food, your utilities, miscellaneous insurance, work comp, all that kind of stuff, about $18,000 a month. The cost for your building, even if you bought that house, you did a conversion, you spent $1 million on the house, and you spent $1 million on a renovation, man, with insurance and property tax and stuff like that, still probably about 15 grand a month. You add all that up, it's about 73,000. So let's take a look at our top line here. We'll take the lowest number on our top line, 120,000 of income minus our 73,000 of expenses. It's 47 grand. 47 grand. Like, that is very, very realistic. We see that a lot. When we put these deals together with teams, a lot of times people will come and they'll have some money to put together, into the deal. They'll have 100,000 or something like that, but they won't have all the money that they need. So then they'll go and they'll raise money from investors. And a lot of times we'll see usually between 10 and 19% equity that they'll give away to investors. And so still they're netting, not 47, because 47 is the net profit of the business, but they're probably walking with 30 themselves personally. And again, we'll talk next about how to work yourself out of the business. That is pretty epic money right there.
So I wanted to note the most important number in this entire deal. And I think a lot of people who are just getting started in this think, oh, it's point that you want, right? And so you're looking for, like what Brett said, around 7,500 plus. And so again, that's not hard to find. We have many teams throughout the United States who are a lot higher than that. But the minimum is usually around 7,500 for the monthly bed rate. And so when you do your due diligence in your area, when you are secret shopping those, assisted livings in your area, and you find that, oh, look, like it looks like it's around 8,500. That's the normal. It goes up to 10,000. Like, that's a perfect sweet spot number. That's something that this building this or renovating a house, that will sustain your income to be at that 47,000 a month rate. So again, the most important number in this entire thing is how much your bed rates are per month.
This is true, because the staffing, the food, the utilities, they're plus or minus 10%. They roughly stay right there. Your income is really what's going to make the difference, right? Are you going to have $80,000 a month in income, or are you going to have $120,000? That $40,000 of spread there is pretty much all of your profit margin, because again, your staffing is going to be fixed. You're going to need 2 people if you're going to have 8 caregivers or 8 residents, or you're going to need 2 people if you're going to have 16. You're paying the same in expenses, double your income, right? That's the only way to make the profit work. So we talked about looking for a house. We've talked about the numbers, the math, how this kind of deal structure works. Let's talk about the highs and lows here. What is it really like on the operations side? Laura and myself jumped into this in 2019 with zero experience.
Goose egg.
Literal zero. With just a dream, motivation, and a, man, I want something better for my family. And said, all right, let's do it. Right. And honestly, we went and we hired somebody with experience. We hired someone who worked at one of the big smelly facilities, and we brought them on and we paid them a salary. We had a small profit sharing agreement, and we were like, all right, let's do this. We're going to learn this together. And how was that like?
I just laughed because it was horrible.
Why was it horrible?
It was just a not really great experience because there's a lot of ramifications to it, but I was the backup. I think that was the biggest thing for me was if my manager was sick, then I was the person who had to come in. So if my manager was off that day and there was a call in, this gal was the one who was going in and, working the night shift or working the day shift and passing the medications and doing all the things. And I had no experience in this. So I just had to do what I had to do. Jumped in. But it was, I think that was probably the hardest thing was for me to be the backup all the time. I didn't want that role. I didn't get into this thinking that was going to be the case. And so that was probably the hardest thing for me. So getting out of that was my number one goal once I was in that role.
Wait, so I got to ask here. Now, did you wipe butts?
Yes, I did.
She told me I will not wipe butts. How many butts have you wiped?
I can't even count. It's probably, I don't know, at least 1,000.
1,000 grandma, grandpa. Grandpas have the hairy butts.
No, yes. They have very hairy butts. There's things that get caught in that hair in the butt area, and it's a whole thing. Yeah.
Okay, so the highs and lows here, the real deal. If you're going to get into this, it's not fluffy unicorn and rainbows.
No.
It was a hard first year. Granted, we did open during COVID, and that was horrible.
Yeah.
And then actually the most hard part was after COVID with Great Resignation when the government was giving away free money and no one wanted to work.
Yep.
And so you know who was working? Both of us, right? I was the chef. She was working the floor, doing all the different things. So is there a strategy? Is there things that we learned here that we can share?
Well, yeah, I think it's different because it's not different. We didn't have any money. I think that was the biggest thing. Like we were just like, we were grinding and we were bootstrapping it. And I think that's important to note. It's like, we didn't come from money. We didn't have all this money. We just threw money at it. Like we just had a big dream and, again, no experience in this. And so we kind of had to do the sweat equity side of things, right? Like it was rough. I mean, no one knew and expected that COVID was going to happen. And it kind of just threw a wrench in our whole deal. And so now looking back on it, like, gosh, it'd be so much easier to open assisted living now that COVID isn't anything, but it wouldn't have made the people that we are today through that experience. Cause that was it was a rough experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Laura was talking about how she was the backup manager. Do you want to talk about our 2-manager system now and what that really looks like? Because I had alluded to that first year was hard, but honestly, after that, we work 2 to 4 hours a week in this business. And it's been 4 years making amazing hundreds and hundreds of thousands with probably $3 million in equity in this building and business now, and just work a couple hours a week.
Yeah. So after we had that experience with that big box manager, that was kind of a route that I didn't want to take. There's a certain culture that I think a lot of these big box managers hold. And I don't think it's of their own fault. It's just kind of the culture they've been in and surrounded by, and it kind of weighs you down. And it's not the culture that I want in our home. And so what I did from there is I actually rose up 2 of my caregivers who were just the standout caregivers who showed up on time, who had a great attitude, who had integrity, honesty, all the things you want in a manager. So rose them up. They had no experience within management, no experience in general, right? Like they have experience working the floor and they know about dementia, but they didn't have any leadership skills or anything like that. So really had to work with them probably the first year on, how to talk to the families, how to lead your staff, what to do if someone calls out, like all these things, right? And so it was just I trained them slowly how to do these things. And so from there, I was able to then pull myself out of the business fully because if one of the manager was off, the other manager was working. And so they were the ones who were filling in for the shifts who were calling out. And so it made it to where it was like it was a stress off my back, and it kind of, set me free. It sounds like, just free from the chains. That's pretty much how it felt. And so we now teach the individuals that we partner with throughout the United States through Assisted Living Mansion. We teach them this 2-manager system. And I've actually seen it work in our building, but I've also seen it work in other people's mansion. And I think that's just a confirmation of how great this system works in freeing you as an owner from being in the business so much, right? You want to work on the business. You don't want to be in the business. And so highly, highly recommend that if you were to open this, to start with a 2-manager system so that you have the backup.
So it's been, 4+ years since Laura implemented the 2-manager system, since we've had time freedom and honestly had years of being bored. It's like, what do we do? Like, okay. And so, we went and we bought the next deal, right? We bought that 8 acres of land. We built out our first phase of our neighborhood of mansions. We promoted those 2 managers, I should say, we promoted new caregivers up to managers again, kind of replaced that whole system. Now have 7 managers below Laura that she leads, and 3 mansions that we run for Platinum Resort. And man, like kind of just resetting the cycle, building the culture again, dialing in the operations again. And we'll get to a place where we have worked ourselves again back out of the normal day-to-day kind of thing, right? Still sitting in this CEO, COO kind of spot on the business. But you don't have to do that. But I want to show you that this is not a trap. This is not a way where you start this and you are a slave to your business. This is how you can follow a proven path, get your time freedom, get your financial freedom, and then have the time and energy to either 1, spend with your family, or 2, expand your goals and build an empire.
I also want to note on this that there are certain ramifications per state based on the qualifications and requirements for a manager. So I would implore you to research that on your own, do your own due diligence. But here in Texas, it's pretty easy to become a manager within a small assisted living facility. And so I wanted to say the importance, I think, of having a caregiver raised up as a manager. So what you'll see in a lot of the big boxes in the nursing facilities is you'll never really see a manager. The manager is always hiding in the office. The manager never comes out and engages with any of the grandparents. They never engage with any of the staff. They're there right at 9 a.m. and they clock out right at 5 p.m. They're usually not very friendly. And I'm just saying this as a generalization. I'm not saying everybody's like this, but it's kind of the known within the industry. And so I did not want that. And so what I love about having a caregiver that's worked with you for, 3 to 6 months, raising up to a manager, is they know your culture. They know your expectations. They know your core values. They are living out your core values. They're living out what you expect of them, right? And what they really are just like cheering you on the vision that you have for your place. They love the place. They love the culture. They love everything about it. And so they're all honestly like the cheerleader for you. So that's one thing I love about it. The second thing is they've been caregivers before. They can hop on the floor at any moment. So if there is a call out, it's not like the big boxes where those managers are like, well, peace out. It's 5 o'clock. I'm leaving. Like, I'm not saying to help you. We never do that. Our floor is always covered, meaning if someone calls out and we can't find coverage, the manager is the one who goes in and runs that shift. And so they have the experience. They know how to do it. But then it also kind of puts them on the floor and they see any problem that's going on the floor. So if there's maybe a system that isn't working quite well anymore, they see that because they're on the floor working. And so I think it's fantastic to raise up a caregiver for those 2 reasons. They love you. They love the core values. They love, the mission that you're striving for. So they're going to be cheering you on. And then they're also going to be able to hop on the floor if you have, someone who calls out. They're not scared of that. They've done it before. To be honest, some of them actually love doing it. And so you won't see that in big boxes. You won't see any of those directors getting on the floor and wiping butts. And so I think that's the difference too. When you are hiring and promoting from within, I think that's just pivotal for the success of our business.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of wraps us up for this topic, man. I want to encourage you guys. It doesn't matter if you want to do a home conversion, you want to do new construction, you want to buy a facility and renovate it. The opportunity is massive. There are so many people that need this kind of care, and the care that is out there is so bad. Like if you haven't gone and looked, like go check out, find the most expensive assisted livings or memory cares in your market and go secret shop them. You will be appalled at how much it costs, what the smell is like, what the care is like. You're like, people are paying 10 grand a month for this? Mm-hmm. I felt so strongly about this. We had 0 experience, and I'm like, I know we can do better than this. Mm-hmm. We have other experience in other industries. I can do better than this. Like a lot of people have the heart and passion and the intelligence for it, but not the experience. Man, you can hire that experience. Just run after it. It is a massive opportunity right now. The baby boomers, whatever kind of business you're in, you should be focusing on the baby boomers. They got the money. They got the masses. That's where the biggest opportunity is.
Yeah, since we have Assisted Living Mansion where we partner with other people who want to build what we built here in Texas, and they build it all throughout the United States. They build it in their city and their town. And What I love about this little tight-knit community that we have with ALM is that we have two types of quote unquote avatars that we have. We have the nurse avatar. So we have maybe a hospice nurse or some other, maybe an NP who's been in this industry for so long. They've worked for the hospice companies, they've worked for the home health, they go into assisted livings, they see how horrible it is, and they have the dream, right? They're like, I can build this. I know this industry. I can do so much better. So there's that, right? But then we also have the investor. We have people who, they just have a sum of money that they want to put in something that has meaning, that can bless people. And so, but they don't have an experience in healthcare. What do? I have this money. I want to start this, but I don't have the experience. And on the other hand, you have the experience, but I don't have the money. And so what's great about Assisted Living Mansion is we bring those people together in one group and we can actually help people find the other half of their yin and yang, right? It's kind of a yin yang you don't really need the experience because we didn't have experience. We just had the dream, the drive is really what it is. And so I think that being a part of Assisted Living Mansion is so beneficial if you're one of those people, if you're the investor or you're the nurse avatar, to come and meet the other person and get the deal done.
Absolutely. All right. Well, just again, if you want more research on this, hit our website, assistedlivingmansion.com. There's a bunch of free courses there. You can book a call, talk to our team, see what it's like to build one of our mansions and team up with us to help you do this kind of thing.
So I have a few questions if you want to hit them up. Yeah.
Sure.
So we answered this, but if you could just reiterate again, if you decide to buy an existing home and expand, does that lock you into a residential zoning?
No, it's totally separate, right? When you buy this piece of land, you should already know what is the zoning type. You can usually go onto the city's website. They may have a GIS where you can drop in the address. It'll tell you the zoning. It'll tell you what utilities are there. It'll tell you all the different things, most cities. Otherwise, you should find out what that is. Once you do find out what it is, you want to go to planning and zoning. I like going in person. Here's what I want to do. I want to do I would call it a residential assisted living. You might call it a group home. Group home is a much softer term, right? Call it something. Don't say, big facility, right? But, and see, okay, can I do this here in this zoning type? And if they say no, well, what zoning types can I do it in? And then start looking in your city for those type of zonings.
Mm-hmm. All right, then one more question. How do you successfully target the demographic that can afford your services?
You'll be surprised at how many people can actually afford this. And let me switch your perspective on this, because it is less that your 85-year-old grandma makes a couple $100,000 a year to be able to do this. It's more that grandma sells her $800 or $1.2 million house, and now she has a runway of 5, 8, 12 years of end-of-life care income. This is what people have been planning for, right? Like, this is the worst case scenario. This is why that money is there. And I would say that probably about 2/3 of our residents, the grandparent themselves, are paying for these things. About 1/3 has not properly prepared, and the families, literally, we hear the conversations between the siblings. They're like, oh, I'm paying this month, and I'm paying this. And you see brother and sister come in and cover it. Mm-hmm. I think when you're going and looking at, statistics and national average, you can do that kind of stuff. I don't put much weight on it. Don't look at like gen worth and that kind of stuff. Like, they're just going to give you the middle of the road stuff. It's a bunch of crap. It's fluff. But you can look at, statistical data. I want to find areas where probably median income is at least $80,000 a year. That's kind of a good bottom line there. If you're seeing stuff like $40,000, $50,000 a month, that's probably too low of an income area. And then what's really most important is your competition. The secret shopping is the most important thing to prove the model in your market. If you have several assisted livings or memory cares that are charging $8,000 a month and they're full and they have a wait list, because they'll tell you when you secret shop and you say, hey, I want to move my grandma, then there's no reason that you can't come in there. You're not trying to go into a market and create new grandparents. You're trying to just steal the grandparents from the big smelly facilities that are giving horrible care, and it's not hard to do. So just go be right next to them that are already charging the numbers that you want to charge.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get scared. They think, oh, well, there's 2 really big boxes in my neighborhood. I can't build there. And I always say, why not? Why can't you build there? That's actually the perfect location. because literally, like Brett says, you will steal the grandmas from there. They're going to be like, if you get to know those people who work at that location and maybe make friends with them, there might be an independent living per se right down the street. And there's going to be a point where they can't live in independent living anymore. They're going to need, higher service, higher care. And then they will refer those grandmas to you. And so it's honestly, I would highly recommend if there are big boxes in your area that's a good place, because they're probably not getting great care and they're probably looking for something smaller and more intimate. And that's you. And you're the answer for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we literally have 3 or 4 partnerships where they're next door to the Big Smelly facility.
Mm-hmm.
It's so awesome. We're going to crush those people.
That's so true. Okay, one more question came in. Does location determine the size of project that you can take on? Example, 16 bed, or is it simply the business model?
Ask that question again.
Does location determine the size of project that you can take on?
No, what determines the size of project is 2 things. Zoning is one of them, so you touched on that, right? Because the zoning that you're in, you might have a limit on the size of beds you can have. For example, you might find a piece of land or a house that's zoned residential, R1, and the city says, hey, you can do this. You're capped at 4, 6, 8, 10, something like that, right? So therefore, that zoning type can determine that. Also the state licensure type can determine what it looks like, and it's state by state, it's different. So in every single state, you're going to have requirements, and it's either a quantity of bed requirement. If you have 16, you're this license type. If you have 10, you're this license type. Or it's a level of care type of, what does it look like for grandma? It's more on the services. So I would look at those 2 things, the zoning type and the licensure type, and then just pick the one that you want, right? Pick a deal size that works for you. Go find the right license type and find the right zoning type, and then search those pieces of land or properties or whatever you're looking for.
I think also to add on that, I'd say it's kind of is our business model, because I think 16 is a perfect number to have 2 caregivers. I think if there's any more than that, I think the ratio, it's hard to give excellent care if you have more than 8 grandmas you're taking care of. And so I think that's kind of the where we're coming from too, is you're able to make the most income and not have super high expenses on your payroll. Because if you do have like a random number like 18 or something, where it's just like a few above 2 caregivers, and you're gonna have to add that 3rd caregiver on, and adding 1 caregiver at like $18 to $19
you
an hour
pretty much break even
is a lot of money.
From 18 to 16 by adding the extra caregiver.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it's not really increasing your food or anything like that. It's just the caregiver cost. So I would say it's kind of a business model, I think, to answer your question. Obviously, what Brett said too, the zoning and the license type is really important as well within your area. But yeah, I think just 16, I think, is a sweet spot. It's a sweet number. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Okay, this is someone just came on late and they asked a question. So, as someone who wouldn't qualify for an SBA loan, do we have some other options?
Yeah, there's several different options. I still probably assume that SBA is the best way for you to go, and therefore what that means is you need to have a partner that looks good on paper, right? They need to be an equity partner with you. They need to be a guarantor on the business. So you may want to come in and bring in somebody that has 50% ownership in the deal. And maybe you're the work person, you run the business, they are the money person. And so they are bringing the 2 things that you would need. They are bringing the capital for down payment, and they are bringing the financial balance sheet, meaning they are the guarantor on that loan. But I would also start working on your credit and all those kind of things. SBA, if you haven't dug into it, it's not like a personal residence loan. It's not tied to your debt to income. It's not like that at all. It's going to be global on that, and it's going to be really what is the cash flow of the business. So if you have an awesome deal and you maybe have too high debt, it doesn't really matter. It's going to wash that out to the profit of the business, but you need someone who has a good net worth, solid income, and the bank can honestly use them as the collateral, and hopefully they have some assets. And that way, again, if things go horribly wrong, the bank feels comfortable. I'm going to take the assets from that guy, and you're just kind of along for the ride. I would structure in that way first and foremost. All these secondary options are so much harder to do. It's way more difficult because you're going to need probably an extra $500 to $1 million worth of capital from investors, and then you dilute even more because the SBA covers all the soft costs, the working capital, the furniture money, the interest reserves, all of those things. They'll give you the money for that. Otherwise, now you need to raise all of that too, and it becomes really, honestly, not practical.
Mm-hmm. All right, one more question, and then we're going to be done. Do you recommend developed lands that already have utilities connected, or raw, undeveloped land, or is it simply just running the numbers behind it?
It's running the numbers with a strong priority towards buying land with utilities. And I learned this the hard way. It literally cost me double what I thought it was going to. And so biggest question goes back to fire water. Utilities mainly are what kind of fire suppression, is there a fire hydrant on site? What that costs, the tank, the pump, the three-phase, it's $500,000 with all the things that you need if you have to run a commercial suppression system. So whatever you think it's going to cost for utilities, I would say, I tell our teams at the lowest, it's $350,000, if not up to $600,000 for those utilities, specifically because of the fire stuff, depending on what that looks like for you. There are tons of little rabbit holes on it. It could be lower, but just consider that a piece of land that is $800,000 with utilities and $400,000 without utilities, the one with the utilities for $800,000 is probably cheaper.
That's another number people don't think. They think, oh, I'm going to take the $400,000. I'm going to save $400,000. It's like, well, you're actually not.
No, it's probably going to cost you a year in planning and all the different things, and it's going to be the same cost.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's all we got.
Well, fantastic, everybody. Thanks for being with you. Awesome questions today.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the good ones in there. So we will be back at this next month talking about another topic. We'll throw in the chat here. Let me know. Hit me on social what you want to do. Feel free to follow us on the podcast, Assisted Living Investing. Hit us up on social, on Instagram.
Assisted Living Mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Duh.
Everyone knows that.
No, that's it. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you guys next month.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.